We are on the day 3 of the refresher course on taxation, and may now invite CA K. Shanmugh Sundaram to accompany the speaker of the first session, CA Karthikeyan, onto the dais. We'll start the program with an invocation, ICI Motosa.
येष सुप्तेषु जागृति येष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शितः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्द्वैता
Thank you. The telephones are ringing, and the enquiry is with reference to that of whether the registration for the refresher course is open. As we have announced in the newsletter, it is for the entire 6 days. You can either register or you can register for the particular day. The registration is still open for the days to come. Hence, whenever your friends, chartered accountants call upon and ask upon that particular thing, registration is open. For ARS, it is free. Okay, that is with reference to the enquiries which are coming. We want to clarify that. And now, for the current day, we have CA V. Karthikeyan, who is a graduate in BSc Mathematics and completed his CA in 1976 and is in practice since 1977. Presented papers in All India Seminar on Taxation conducted by Hindustan Chamber of Commerce. Is a faculty in SARC of ICAI on subjects like estate duty, gift tax, surtax auditing, etc. He is a faculty of Academy of Accounting. Initially, it was there by ICAI. Part-time examiner for Coaching Board, peer reviewer of ICAI. Presented papers for various seminars conducted by Society of Auditors, Chennai, and chairman for session on taxation at the Golden Jubilee Year Conference for CA students in December 2001. And I present before the audience CA Karthikeyan. Before he takes over, yes, thank you, sir. Before he takes over, I request the Gopal Krishna Raju, my council colleague, to honor him with a towel. Shawl in the name of towel. Thank you, sir. And there is a very important announcement from the chairman of SARC with reference to the international conference which is going to happen on 6th, 7th and 8th. Over to chairman.
On behalf of SARC, I take pleasure in welcoming the today's faculty and my professional fraternity. So I don't want to stand between you and the team this whole week. Just we want to concentrate on the subjects. So that's why I have chosen, as told on the first day of the program, that we want to go in depth. That's why I have chosen the smallest topic and go in depth. This international conference, I'm just wanted to remind you again and again, because President sitting over Delhi is placing so much reliance on us, and every day he is following up with me. As of now, we have registered around 750 delegates. So it's an opportunity for us. Make use of it. And today's we have issues on real estate transactions. It's one of the important area wherein lot of complications. Normally the clients haphazardly enter into agreement and get money to do transactions. Finally, power of attorney, they'll give issue power of attorney, and the power of attorney take a day. They just finish up the deal with that. And when the clients comes to us, the date of transaction, nothing. Sometimes even the seller doesn't aware of much of the things. So this is one of the issue wherein so much of complications will arise. We have to educate our clients. We also need to get educate ourselves in the such kind of complications arise in development agreement, and because there is so much of guideline value, capital issue, so much of issues comes up. I'm quite sure this will raise so many issues which will be interesting. And with this, I take pleasure in welcoming the today's speaker Tyagarajan, and podium is over to Tyagarajan. Sorry, Karthikeyan sir.
Good evening, friends. I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to present a paper on a very difficult subject. The topic is not chosen by me. They are given this topic, and now I am there to do some justice to the topic. As you can see, it's a refresher course. A refresher course means you will have to learn and unlearn many things. I am trying to give you some ideas so that you can learn, and later on I am going to unlearn whatever I said, whatever that is wrong, I am going to unlearn from you. So it's going to be two-way. It is not going to be one way. While on introducing me, you would have seen Mr. Aroli was telling you that I was taking classes at the institute on coaching classes.
Including surtax.
What has happened is, whenever I took a subject, estate duty is the first subject I took for the students. It got abolished.
I was just thinking of that came to my mind.
Then I took gift tax. That got abolished. Because those times there are not many people who were having some practical knowledge on this subject. It was very difficult. Then surtax, that also got abolished. Then that was one course that has for the students that has come up, that is Academy of Accounting. That also got abolished. Then the institute thought that if this man is there means then we will not have our own profession. So they abolished me. So it took long time for me to come back to you. You would have seen after 2001, I am coming now only after a long time. Right. Coming to the subject. Okay. See, lot of things are given there. I am not going to discuss each and every one. I am just highlighting the points, because most of you would have definitely dealt with a joint development agreement or somewhere, and you would have got lot of practical questions to answer. I think that will be better. So let me just introduce you very fast so that I expect questions from you, so that we can exchange ideas and get something, a knowledgeable thing from here. See, any development agreement or whatever you call in real estate, there are two parties to the agreement. Then there will be a recital how the owner has got the property, then how the new structure that is going to come up, how it is going to be shared between the owner and the builder. Then finally what will happen is when it is gone for a CMD approval and all those things, the final outcome, there will be one more supplementary agreement by which they will say this is correctly defined. Then there, if you have surrendered, if the owner has surrendered his building to the builder, he will get a replacement allowance, like 18 months he will be given a rent for a place where to live. Then owner may get a deposit till the completion of the building, and he may have to refund without interest. These are the conditions you can normally see. it may be, there may be some payment also over and above the sharing of the space. The precaution is, whenever you draft or whenever you see any this kind of a joint venture agreement or sharing agreement, you should try to emphasize that it is not a joint venture, not a partnership, but it's only a memorandum understanding. Otherwise, later on the department may say that it's an AOP, association of person, and all those things. So to avoid that you should always put up a clause saying that it is neither a joint venture nor a partnership, but it's only a memorandum understanding. Then finally it will come, what is the name of the building, how the association is going to be formed, and all those things. Then who is going to have the original title deeds? You may be in one of the flat owners association, you would have seen the difficulties faced by those people in practically. So these are the things that has to be stated in the agreement itself. Then if there is a delay in execution or delay in repayment of deposit, what are the penalties? And how is the arbitration is going to happen if there is any dispute between the parties? Normally a general power attorney is given to the builder for his share of land. Then finally it comes to the handing over a possession of new construction. Within a time frame, the builder will say, I will hand over the possession of the new construction. What happens if there is a delay in handing over the possession? Then there is a decision which says, even if it is a delay, if it is not because of the owner, it is because of the builder. Since the entire money has been invested by the builder, by the owner, what is there in 54 and 54F, the logic behind is that you should deposit all your sale proceeds into the building. That you have done. So when you have done that, there is no necessity for you to go and register the document or go into the house within the time frame. Even if it is belated, you can get into that 54 and 54F. There is no bar. That has been decided in that Bombay High Court judgment, and the judgment is given by Mrs. Sujata Manohar. She not only given the judgment, also she given a suggestion to the tax department saying that this is happening in the cases of all housing board flats and all those things. Why don't you extend, you are given concession in such a case of cases where they get it delayed. Now why don't you extend this to the other people also? And the department for once they accepted the suggestion and they extended the thing by another circular by 671 that I have given in the next. These are the two circulars on the subject, which gives a concession to you even if it is delayed, your handing over is delayed beyond that period of 3 years. The mistake is not yours, you have invested the entire money, only the builder has delayed. Next precaution. Dated, and if it is that within 2 years, it should be allowed. It's a very where you have already did a mistake, you can rely on this decision and try to escape out of it. Now the main important thing in this any memorandum of understanding or development agreement is the transfer definition. So definition of transfer you know pretty well. This is the one other than the other definition. This is the one definition that is going to play a very crucial role in the joint development agreement. It says under if you are given possession with an agreement and a possession, then itself the transfer took place. So when is the transfer? Whether on the agreement date or when you are registering your undivided shares. How to do a planning on this? That's a very important area in which it has to be done. Next. So the consideration, agreement to sell and possession. These are the three ingredients that is there in the 53 of Transfer of Property Act. If you do any two, then you are caught. One you cannot avoid, that is agreement to sell. The second, you will not have definitely received the full consideration. That's okay. So third is the possession. So now you should draft in your agreement in such a way that you are not handing over the possession to the builder. How to go about it? Also, the builder will not leave you as such. He will also would like to exploit the right he is having. So, how to go about it? If you want to postpone your transfer as well as capital gains liability. Next. You would have given definitely a general power attorney to him. So, the transfer incident should be shifted. If you want to shift it from the date of agreement to the date of registration of undivided shares, how to go about it? Next. Then you will have to specifically state in your agreement that the possession is given to the builder only to do the construction part of it. He is not having any possession of the particular property. It will only be conveyed to the on registration of UDS. Next. The model class I have given you, that will be useful for you when you are drafting your agreements. Next. Now coming to the next crucial point in a development agreement is how to claim the exemption under section 54 or 54F. There are cases what happens in that you had a building, you are given for a development agreement, the building was demolished, right? Whenever the UDS is registered, it will be only land. So the tax department takes a view saying that what you have sold is only land. So it's only 54F. The buck does not stop there. He also says the building, whatever the cost of the building, you cannot, I will not allow you to index. I will only allow the indexation of building, land. So this will happen. So how to protect that? So in the agreement you should say that about the demolition, there should be a clause on demolition saying that the existing building will be demolished by the builder. The cost of demolition is builder's account and the sale process also is going to be taken by the builders. So finally you can say that what you have sold is only land and building, not land alone. It's a comprehensive contract. So to protect that exemption, because 54 means you have to only invest the capital gain, whereas 54F means entire net consideration has to be reinvested. So you will have to be very careful in putting this clause. And also in addition to it, what you should, another precaution is whenever the undivided share is registered in the property schedule A of the property where the whole property is described first, you should always say the total area of the land and also a word saying that the building since demolished. This should be there. That will protect you later on to say that there is a building there and before that. And this also will help you later on saying that it's a comprehensive agreement. What I agreed is only a transfer of land and building and not the building, not the land alone. In addition to it, the section 54, if you read, it not only talks about the transfer of building, it also talks about land appertinent thereto. So what is land appertinent thereto? That's a mute question. Land appertinent thereto means it should be a land adjacent to the building or the land on which the building was already existing. So even if assuming that you have lost, you have not put clauses in the agreement about the demolition of building and all those things, you have sold, right? That has also happened. And the documents, it is only mentioned land. Even then, if you are able to prove there is a building before that has handed over, then it's a land appertinent. And section 54 does not only give the exemption for building, it also extends to the land appertinent thereto. So you can get that also. Now now is the crucial part of the entire development agreement, which everybody would have faced. So when on a development agreement, when you are getting number of flats, like 8 flats for you, 8 flats for the builder, can you claim the exemption for 8 flats? That's a mute question. The department will say I will give you only exemption for one flat. That too under 54. If it is 54F, you cannot own more than 2 properties. Already you have 8 flats. You will definitely will not get any benefit under 54F. All leading tax experts, they are giving that opinion to everybody in Chennai, right? Not understanding the difference between a development agreement and a mere purchase. If you are going and out selling your land, go out and purchase 8 properties, different properties, then whatever they say is correct. But here you don't purchase. You are just constructing your own property. What you are getting in turn is 50% of the building constructed area divided into 8 portions, that's all. It has taken long time for the courts to understand this and finally come out with a judgment in Kannada High Court. K.G. Rukmini Amma understanding the position that is not 8 flats or anything, it is only a part of the building that you have owned and it is only 8 portions. So what are the precautions you can take in this is, when you should insist on the builder, when you are getting your flats, even though it may be in first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever it is, any part of the building it may be there. There is no bar because you have only one document. What is the document you have? The original document less whatever undivided shares you have sold plus the development agreement. This is the document you are having. You don't have 8 documents with you to say that I have 8 title to 8 properties. Nothing. So only one document. So here you should say, you should be able to establish that you are only a single owner. For that you can get a corporation or municipal this valuation as a single owner for all the 8 portions. Then divide into A, B, C, D. After you can split and have a corporation assessment done in a different manner. So that will give a clinching proof. The earlier decisions were you should have a property where you should have a common kitchen, and if it is in the ground floor and first floor, there should be a staircase inside. All kind of dubious decisions have come earlier. Finally, they have accepted the fact this is something different for joint development and it has got nothing to do with the purchase. Whether it is single includes plural, lot of decisions are there. 1 means 2. So when you purchase 2 properties, when you are eligible for 1, the 2 also is eligible. All kinds of interpretations have come, but there are not 100% safe. Whereas in a joint development agreement, you are really what you are getting is only a property, your own property, your own constructed area. That you are divided. If you construct your own property and if you divide into 8 portions, who can deny you? Can anybody deny you 54 or 54F? So that should be the aim. Finally, it has been now accepted in this Kannada High Court decision. So there is no problem on this. Most of the development agreement, what happens is none of the owners are going to keep the entire property. They will be selling, right? So there will be combination of long-term capital gain and short-term capital gains. I just explained that with examples to you. Next, short-term. That's much I can explain to you. You will be knowing all those things, so it's not a very big difficult affair. If in case whatever exemptions claimed on particular area, if it is sold again within the 3 years and also, you know pretty well that it is going to be a short term. So the entire planning for the owner should be how to go about it, because he has to retain for 3 years. Then only he can sell. So the planning aspect and how it is going to be reduced, tax is going to be reduced in the final round. That should be the Now coming to the amendment to 50C in 2009, they said earlier, if at the time of agreement, I have not had any registered document, so that stamp valuing authority is not entering into the picture. So at the time of whatever the market value or sub-registrar value, that need not be the value for the construction area. That was the argument. But amendment has come saying that assessable. So no more you can escape on an agreement saying that you don't have any registration, all those things. You will have to, whatever the value of stamp duty purposes at the time of agreement will be the value of consideration you have received. But there is one the judgment on 54F which said under section 54F, the 54F is talking about the net consideration and reinvestment of net consideration into the new building. It's a statute by itself, that's 54F itself. So there is no question of substituting 50C for the purpose of limited purpose of 54F. That is a decision that has come. If somebody is having any kind of a difficulty in that area, they can try this and get away. Next, there are now the people are very, in tax department, the new recruits who are coming in, studying various books and everything, they are very enterprising. So their first idea is to do some additions, whether it is right or wrong, whether it is basically wrong or not, because they don't have any proper training from income tax from the beginning, like we had. They never know the basics of tax. So they try to do whatever they like. One of the idea they have is now a joint venture means you both wanted to do some business, get the profit out of. If there is no joint venture, you would have just sold. Then it's this thing, capital gain. Why you are not sold outright? He will come and dictate you the terms. You will have to do as per his wishes, right? If you don't do as his per his wishes, he will think whatever he likes and he will imagine, he will write a story, excellent story, and finally say that it's all business. You should have kept it, you should have sold the property as such. Why do you go for a promotion? Why do you go into a joint venture agreement? Then that means you want to make more profit. When you want to make more profit, when the intention is for making profit, it is business. That's all he knows. So how to avoid those things? How to say that you are only having an investment, whatever you are having is only an investment, it is only a capital asset, it's not a revenue asset. How to go about it? It's a very, very difficult area. Now, many of you would have been faced. So for this, a circular in 2007 will help you, which has come for the purpose of share trading. There they have analyzed everything and said that CBD, Central Board of Directors, said what is capital asset, what is trading asset. They went on various decisions, they have quoted Supreme Court decision, everything. Finally, they concluded this is only to help finance FII, foreign institutional investors. They will have to go by foreign institutional investors, they don't have any choice. Whatever the foreign institutional investors say, the government has to say yes. To please them, this circular has come, but that is helpful to you. Right? Here in this circular they say any person can have two portfolios, one as a trading portfolio, one as an investment portfolio. It is his intention, same capital asset he is having, it may be shares, it may be anything. He may keep some of the assets as trading asset, he may keep some of the assets as investment. How to find out his intention? So you should be ready to file a wealth tax return where you show whatever assets you are keeping it as investment and pay wealth tax on it. Because if you are going to take stock in trade, you don't pay wealth tax. So if you are greedy not to pay wealth tax and show it as stock in trade, later on you cannot reiterate and say that it is only an investment. So that will be difficult. So be careful whenever that kind of things that is going to come, careful and file a wealth tax return, which is it's not just as simple of 1%. Finally, you are going to save 20% to 30%, 10% rate if you are going to save. That 1% is not going to be very much. So try to be very active and do that. And whenever you get a difficulty, you can quote this circular and say anybody can have two portfolios. Assuming that owner is also a builder, he was doing lot of flat promotion everywhere. Now he is not having confidence in his own work. Like one chartered accountant is not having no confidence in his own work. Go to another chartered accountant, ask him opinion. It happens. I may be specialized in one area. Like that, the builder may be specialized in commercial properties. He may not be specialized in residential properties. So he may go and ask another builder, please let us have a joint venture, you're going to do it. The income tax office people will say, yes, you are a builder. Once you're a builder, you are always a builder. So whatever you do is only business. But this circular will help you, and your intention should be there, and you should have filed a wealthy return. So these precautions you should take and face it. Next. Now indexation cost is another area where questions are asked for the CA examination. Right? When the government is fair enough and legally correct to say, when the property is coming to you by gift or will or anything, the date of the ownership of the earlier owner is the date on which you will have to reckon as short term or long term. They are very specific on it and everybody knows about it. But when it comes to indexation, the section is not that clear. So the department is saying that even though you have got the property from your father who owned it from 1990, he died only in 2010, you got the property now only. We will call it as long term, no doubt. But indexation we will only give it from 2010. Right? This is not in consonance with the entire scheme of the act. One side you want to give the concession, other side you grab it back. So this has been now gone on appeal, and decisions are coming in favor of the assessee, saying that the decision indexation has to be from the date of original ownership only. Now planning on this date of transfer. When a development agreement is given to you, you should be the main area how to, what is the owner wants, which date he wants as transfer date. Whether it is on the joint first date of agreement or the second agreement where it went to the CMDA, got the approval when the areas are clearly marked, then that is the date on which you will have to see, or only on registration of undivided share, I would like to call it as a transfer. Whatever the question, it will all depend on the possession. So the possession is the main criteria where I have already given the classes to you. You should have that classes in such a way that the possession is the only area where I am only going to give the possession only on registration of undivided share. Till such time the possession does not transfer. With that you will not get into the mischievous terms of 247(5). Also there is a decision on this which I have quoted there. Capital gain on transfer of development rights in an immovable property was chargeable in the year in which the actual physical possession of the property is given, whatever be the agreement date. Now, coming to the wealth tax aspect, some interesting points are there in wealth tax. On a joint development agreement, you come, and during the course of joint development agreement, the situation come like this. In between the promotion of demolition to construction, in between there is a valuation date. At that time only the land is available, nothing has been started, no work has been started. Or the building might have been started, it is under construction. Or the building would have been completed, they would have handed over to you, you got 8 flats, out of which you are able to let it out only 4 portions, the other portions not yet let out. You as well, you know pretty well that when the 300 days in a year, if it is not let out, then that will be liable for wealth tax. So letting out is very important. Now how to comprehend this situation? Land, there is an exemption classes given under 516 which says in wealth tax, any house or 500 square meters of land. If that is within that, you will be able to escape as a land which is coming to the exemption portion of it. Now coming to the building under construction, the tax department wants the building under construction to be go for wealth tax. They want to have wealth tax because a lot of properties now having very high values. Now what will happen to that? The decision says, a recent decision says, wealth tax act has a different code. It gives a negative list. It only gives a positive list. Only 7 assets they want to tax for wealth tax. Whether building under construction is coming under these classes. Building is coming, land is coming. So when a building under construction is there, whether this is a building? No. Whether this is a land? You cannot say no. Then they said we only pity you, department, you cannot tax, wealth tax on this. It is neither building nor land. Unless it is specified in 2EA, you cannot tax. That decision I have given you to help if anybody is trying to act smart from the department side and trying to tax, wealth tax on the house construction house. Then what are the tax planning you can try? A owner is there who is owning a lot of land, he wants to go for a joint development on those things. Then if there is a family and if he wants to, finally what is going to happen, whether he is going to divide to the entire proceeds or entire outcome to his children, means he can do the settlements at the earlier date itself, so that the incidence of tax is going to disperse to various people. You can see one person who is getting from him would like to go for a house, one person who is getting the share from him would like to go for bonds, other person would like to pay tax. So it can be left up to them, instead of this man selling everything, paying taxes and giving them as gift to those people. So that planning can be done at that time. Now that is one thing. Even if you, in the case of a spouse is one of the family members, the husband wants to give it as a gift to the wife. Normally you will think that yes, the capital gain arises and will be added to the, what is the purpose, right? But the capital gain is taxed only after giving the exemption under 54, 54F and 54CC. What you want to achieve is, because if you are going to have, you can have only one house, assuming it is 54EC. If it is going to be transferred to wife, and if she is going to sell, she can have one more house there. After exemption only, their clubbing is going to come. So that way you can plan. Now coming to the planning of bonds, if your date of transfer is going to be between 1st October and 31st March, then what you can do is you can put the 50 lakhs bond before March, another 50 lakhs bond after March, because the condition given in the section is you should have only 50 lakhs per financial year. It is not attached to the property or long-term capital gain. It is only attached to the financial year. The only thing is, next year if you sell some property, you will not be able to achieve that limit of 50 lakhs. So you should be able to plan this in such a way. You can avail this both. This joint development agreement, it is not only on developing a building, it may be a big piece of land which is going to be plotted out and it is sold. Assuming there are some lot of lands spread over various places and some 10 to 15 people who are putting in their money as investment. A person is joining all those land and he is acting as a managing agent, selling on behalf of these people. You have a given power of attorney to him, you have management agreement. Now lot of managing agencies have come to exploit this kind of land and they do it. Or even in your case, your own family members, you have land owned by your uncle's children, everything. You have a piece of land which you want to exploit by giving it to somebody, some layout promoter who will do the things. You prepare a development agreement in such a way that your intention of keeping those land as investment, and you diversify from the business activity from it. You say that I don't want to participate in the risk of the business. I am only keeping it as a business. And in the finally, when you are claiming the land capital gain, don't claim any expenditure part of it on the capital gain. So that way you can prove yourself it's only a capital gain and it's not a business. That is what are the intention you should be able to do. Then finally, the direct taxes code bill. The initial stages I have told you, my history, estate duty abolished, right? Gift tax abolished, like that. The capital gain, whatever I have now told you, you will have to unlearn when the DTC has come. Most of it you are not going to get. All the concessions what you are envisaging now, it is not going to be there. First thing you are going to be robbed out is the 50C evaluation. The 50C evaluation, you have been given a choice, right? If you want to object the valuation, you can have your own valuation done, or you can go to the district valuation officer or that stamp authority, Rule 47A, you go for a reduction in stamp duty, get it done. When the reduction comes, that reduction value you can show it to the department, they have to accept. Now all those concessions are gone. Whatever the value fixed by the stamp authority at the time of your agreement or registration, that will be final. You will not be given any concession at all. First thing gone. But the second concession that has gone, because you know pretty well about the history of this direct tax code. The history of direct tax code is none of the department people, none of the tax department people know what is happening to a direct tax code bill. Nobody knows. Nobody was involved. Hand-picked 4 or 5 people were picked by the then finance minister. They have been given the job of preparing this direct tax bill. They don't have any practical experience at all. They are excellent in English and law, that's all. So they simply said, whatever the rollover benefit, they only got all those idioms and everything from the foreign countries, various countries, tax laws they saw, and took it saying that whenever you have a rollover benefit, you should only invest the net consideration. So even for 54 residential loans rollover, earlier we have only the capital gain has to be reinvested. For 54 EC, only capital gains has to be reinvested. Now in the direct tax code, only net consideration has to be reinvested. You don't have the concession of 54 EC and 54. No differentiation between 54 EC, 54 and 54F. That's the simplicity they have done. Because understanding, without understanding everything means simplicity. So that's it. Now it's open to you. You can ask any number of questions. I am ready to clarify all those things. Thank you very much. Yes, definitely it will add to the sale price. I have given an equation. We see, I have given an equation on a joint development agreement. Equation is one side of it is whatever the 50C value of undivided shares registered is one side. The other side is the 50% of constructed area we got the cost, which is just nobody knows what is the cost. That will be arrived by adding to it the rent compensation, right? Adding to it the net proceeds on sale of building, adding to it any other cash compensation you have received. After this, because all the what happened in one non-resident case, he is in USA. He has given to one of his relative to develop the property. Finally, there was a tiff between, in any of the promotion agreement, finally there will be a fight between the owner and the builder. That will happen. That has happened. So that man said, I will not give you any kind of the document, whatever undivided share I have registered, I will not give you any copies to it. You see to it how you file your tax returns. This man has come. And I asked him to put up a income certificate. In the income certificate, all the things have come, all the registration have come. Just add up all the value. That's the sale proceeds that has been given to the other fellow, for which he has given all the flats. That's the cost of construction. Right? That fellow thought that he will not be able, the owner will not be able to do anything without this thing. Has done that intentionally, so that this one should suffer, owner should suffer. We saw the circular and all those things, we are able to establish that all the money is only with that builder and the delay is on account of the builder. So they have given the concession at the appeal stage. Like that, another non-resident. All this is happening only in case of non-resident because they are not here. They are not knowing what is happening here. Another resident, he has sold his property. The last minute he has come from US, signed everything and gone. He does not know what is there in the agreement at all. The agreement, the person who has purchased it, he wanted to save stamp duty. So he said, there is no building, only land. That's what he has put it in the document. The document also has not been received because the document will be received by the purchaser. So the seller never got the document. The auditor of the seller, he filed the returns claiming everything under 54, filed the return. The tax officer got the document saying that what is sold is only land. Is that first thing is that I'll give you only 54F. The second thing is that you have asked for indexation of the building. I will not allow the index cost because what you sold is only land. Where is the building? It is not stopping there. This has been done without any knowledge that foreigner. He has paid all those things because the auditor said you please pay all those things. No, the penalty has initiated. Now I ask this fellow to go and get a, under RTA Act, apply to the sub-registrar, get that, there is one report before they want to, before they'll have to come and inspect the place, and then only they can put the stamp duty. That inspection report is available. When they got the inspection report, the inspector has written, there was a building that has been demolished that is lying there, and the Stamp Duty Act, it says, if the value of the asset is less than 20,000 rupees, you need not put additional stamp duty on it. So he has made it in such a way, the value of the demolished building is this much only, which is less than 20,000 rupees. I have put that as 18,278 less 18,278 because that is need not be considered for the purpose of stamp duty. He has registered that. No, that has been produced before the appellate authorities. So you have to do a lot of investigation on these cases. It's a fact. Why should this man should suffer? He has really sold his land and building. Unnecessarily this man is suffering because he has not read that final document which he has signed. So many things are happening on this development agreement or any sale of the property, and it's a very good area for any chartered accountant in practice. They can expect a good amount of remuneration also by doing excellent work. And the remuneration part of it?
The compensation part. He's not paying the rent. He's giving accommodation free. Then also we have to give some.
Then you will have to pay gift tax. Are you ready to pay gift tax? Next session, Mr. N.S. Srinivasan is going to talk about it. You cannot take anything from anybody, right? If you are ready to take it as an income, pay 30% tax. Better you pay 20% tax. You can prefer. It's your job.
He is constructing a house property on a leased land. Possible, is it? Suppose the lease agreement is not registered.
No need.
There is no requirement.
It's a fact. Why should be?
Just a lease agreement.
Yes, you give an affidavit from the landowner. You have been using that land.
Yes.
You have been there in the land, but it's not your land. These two facts are there. You cannot. It has happened in one place, one time. What happened is, a person who is working in BHEL, he built up a building on his wife's land. Wife was got as a gift from his father. On that land, he put up a building. He filed a return. This has happened in 90s. He filed a return claiming that the housing loan interest, all those things and everything. Now the department has woken up saying that the property tax receipt in the name of wife, we will not give you the relief, right? In addition to it, we will be penalizing you. At the stage he has come. Then I like to give an opinion to him and asking his wife to give an affidavit saying that in India there is no separate document for land, there is no separate document for ownership for building. Right? So the wife has given an affidavit saying that I am only a housewife, the land belongs to her, I have allowed my husband to build up a house. The entire house is belong to him, the loan is also repaid by him. Under Benami Property Prohibition Act 1988, this kind of transaction is not prohibited. A transaction with spouse, a transaction with a unmarried daughter, whether it is major or minor. These two transactions are not, they can be Benami. It is not prohibited under Benami Prohibition Act 1988. That has been told, and I like to get an opinion from Mr. Rajaratnam. Right? So he has given the opinion, then only department people has accepted. This is in 1980s and 90s. The story does not end there. This flow went to US. He came back for 20 years, sold the entire property by joint development agreement. After everything happened, he came, saying that there is going to be a liability of 30 lakhs. How to save? Immediately I told him what is the thing that is happening. Then there is no handing over possession, everything. He has only registered, his wife has only registered the undivided shares then and there. In the first year, only 2 undivided shares have been registered. Put everything in the 54 EC bond. The second year, 3-4 undivided shares have been registered. There I have told him, you had the building, did you get any compensation for the building? In US, husband and wife, even that is happening here also. Your money is your money, my money is my money, that's all. So you will have to compensate your wife. Your husband has to be compensated. Wife cannot just say that I take the land. Without demolishing the building, she cannot take the land. She cannot do anything, right? Compensation you give, 30 lakhs compensation. You got the compensation for the building, which is entirely his capital gain, right? Deposit in 54 bond, CC bond separately for him. The entire capital gain has come down to a very, very small figure. So planning is very, very important. And it should be as per facts. You should not try to do something extraordinary. Then you will get into trouble. Wife. Because land, when it is in the name, whoever constructs the building, the property tax assessment will be in there. So in such cases, what you should do is, you put up a lease agreement. There was one case what happened is, they had 4 grounds at Lattice Bridge Road. Mother and 2 sons. They have a property in Gandhinagar that is owned by the mother. They want to sell these 4 grounds in Lattice Bridge Road, reinvest the entire sale proceeds into this house in Gandhinagar. This is a thing they wanted to do. Now the land at Lattice Bridge Road is owned by father, mother and 2 sons. Mother is having 2 grounds, sons are having one ground. That has come from their forefathers on a devolution. This property in Gandhinagar, which is a house where they are living, is owned by the mother only. They want to put that same money here, own the property later on into the same proportion of 2:1:1. So what has been proposed, actually done is, the mother has given a lease to the 2 sons for 1/4 of the property. Allow them to construct, taking a lease rent. The entire sale process has been deposited here, and they are allowed to construct. But I told the builder, you show the lease agreement to the corporation authorities, get the assessment in the son's name. You got it. You can show your land can be either freehold, it can be leasehold. You know the housing board, or many of the places where the lands are getting leased. Temple lands are there, Kapali Kovil temple lands are there. Many temple lands, many places you have leased lands on which people are constructing. They got the property assessment in their name. Everywhere. So you have to show the lease deed to corporation authorities, get the corporation assessment in your name. That has been done there.
What should be the period of lease?
It can be anything. It is between you. You can renew it. It is not a concern at all. It's between agreement between you and the other person. Nobody else can interfere. That is the legal point. But the tax angle, if you have a lease, if you have a valid lease, that's all.
Sir, but this lease, should it cover the minimum period of 3 years? Transfer of, investment, you invest in a new property which should not be transferred for a period of 3 years.
That's okay.
Should this lease cover that aspect?
No need. It may be renewable lease. You have taken houses on lease, 11-month lease, renewable every year. You can put as renewable. Because lease rent you would like to increase every year. It need not be a perpetual lease.
In the direct tax code, all these exemptions available for 54,
everything is available. No, everything is available, but they have level, they made them level. See, in 54F, it is net consideration. That is, you will have to put a higher amount, right? In 54EC and 54, you have the concession of putting only the profit. That's a lesser amount. The persons are not having any idea at all. These persons are outside the department. They never know. They were being putting in a dark room so that nobody should know what is happening. Finally, it has come out like this.
No, there is a concept of rollover. So does
Right.
it mean that only the same asset? So if you sell house, you have to buy a house only. You have to, if you sell,
That they have not done that. They have not touched that point. The earlier of any capital asset rolling into another house property, that is still there. Only thing is they leveled this, and also they never give a choice to the valuation to dispute the valuation. All those things, that choice is not given. We don't know what is going to happen after this final bill when it comes. They say it is going to get passed in 2012 next budget, but I have my own doubt because it's earlier finance minister's baby. This finance minister is having a dark eye on the earlier finance minister activities. So he may think that that is also his baby. Why should I carry his baby? So we can only believe on that.
In a joint development agreement, the landowner hands over possession of the property, and the builder takes another 2 to 3 years to get the plan approval, to construct the building, and then to sell the UDS. So how does the owner pay the advance tax? Where from does he, what is the source for him to pay? He has received only, let's say, 10 lakhs, whereas his capital gains is 10 crores. So how can he pay the tax on that, either by way of advance tax or self-assessment? He has to wait for 2-3 years to realize the money.
Now you have said that he has handed over possession. The saying is not enough. What is the action you have done? Handing over possession means what is the action you have done? You have received only 10 lakhs. Right? You would have only given a general power attorney to the other fellow. The 50% of the land, you can deal with it. You can sell to any of your nominees. Collect the money, construct the building for me. This is the agreement. Right? Now coming to the possession part of it. Right? Even if you say that you have given possession to him, what is the usage of possession? Have you given the original title deeds to him? Number one. Have you given any power to mortgage the property to him? Has he used that property as his own? These are the facts that is going to come. Right? You now definitely would not allow that fellow to mortgage the property or raise funds. No fool will do. So in these circumstances, when you are able to prove the facts that that other fellow, the builder, has not dealt with the property in any manner to show that he is the owner of the property. If that is proved, then you will not come into the mischief of 247(5), which says the possession is the main. Agreement to sell, possession, and receipt of the entire consideration. The three, any of the two will happen. So, in the facts of your case, if that is going to be proved by your action, real action, definitely the builder would have not dealt with the property at all. He would not have mortgaged the property, he would not have sold any of the property, undivided shares, he would not have sold. Again, you will have to sign. Or he has to sign as general power attorney. Then, if he has signed as a general power attorney, he should have transferred the funds to you. That's what he is writing in the GPA. If those things are not happening, you can as well say whatever the possession that has been given to him is only a possession for construction purposes. Department to help foreign institution investors only. But that is helping us also. They are bound to do that for foreign institutions. Otherwise they said they will go away. They did it. That is helpful to us. So intention is very, very important. And you will have to continue to pay wealth tax till such time you are realizing that. Then you can say you are treating only it as investment, not as a trading asset.
One last question, sir. the chairman of SARCCA, K. Shanmusundaram, to kindly hand over a memento on our behalf.